All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Let's Talk Fabulous with Tamara Hunter show. And of course, as usual, because we've been doing this a while, right? As usual, I am not Tamara Hunter. I'm your guest host, Kim O'Neill. So grateful to be here with you today. Today, we are talking about New Year nutrition. New Year nutrition. Is eating healthier or just more nutritious something that is on your list of something you'd like to achieve this year? This is definitely one of those episodes where you're going to want to have pen and paper to take lots and lots of notes. So we're going to take a quick moment to hear from our digital sidekick, Renee, and then we're going to be bringing our guests on. So sit tight. We'll see you soon.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's fabulous show. My name is Renee Reich. Today's guest host is Kim O'Neill, and she'll be joined from some expert panelists speaking about nutrition and the role it plays in our lives. It's a big one. You know, at the end of the year, beginning of the new year, people make resolutions to go to the gym. And typically for most people, by the end of the first month, it seems to fizzle out. What about nutrition? What kind of role is it playing in your life? And how can you maximize and optimize your nutrition? So sit back, relax, take some copious notes because we're going to have some expert panelists speaking about this topic. So I wish you all a fabulous show, and I will see you soon. Take care.
Oh, we came on so soon. Let's take a moment to watch that video. Oh, hello. Welcome. Good to see you again, Tracy. and good to see all of our panelists. We may have some tech glitches as we go. I've already said the intention we're not going to, but if we do, we just roll with it and we say thank you and we have fun with it. So, okay. I am really excited for today's conversation. Renee set us up beautifully. Usually at the beginning of a year, everyone talks about exercise and getting to the gym, right? And by day 3, we fall off. Okay. But what about the role of nutrition when we talk about, reshaping our body, getting healthier, maybe releasing weight, whatever it might be. And there are other reasons to be eating more nutritious food beyond just releasing weight, of course. And so we're going to talk about that. Each one of our guests today, panelists, are experts in this arena. Before we do that, though, let's do a quick go around and just hear from each of you. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and where are you located in the world? And I'm going to start with Tracy to my left, and then we'll go around from there. So Tracy, tell everyone who you are and where you are.
Yeah. Hi, Kim. So grateful to be here on the Tamara Hunter show. This is such a blast as always. But my name's Tracy Desjardins, and I live all the way on the Mid-Atlantic coast in the state of Maryland. And I'm a holistic health coach for women. And I love this topic so much because I'm also an author and I write about diet freedom for women because I have a long story about the battle with food and body and nutrition. So super excited to be here today.
And where are you located?
Maryland, Eastern Shore of Maryland, all the way on the Mid-Atlantic coast.
Okay, nice. Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. And Dee, tell us about you.
So I'm Dee. I am in Calgary, Alberta, all the way close to the North Pole, freezing my butt this time of the year. And so what I focus on is helping women, especially those women that are super rebel and like to go against the flow of life, but to find, their balance, how to live with ease and grace and find their sexy back. What else can we ask for?
Love that. Okay, and Kristine, tell everyone who you are and where you are.
Hi, everyone. Kristine Alexandria Solomon. I am a foundational nutritionist, and I am in, thankfully, Southern California. So we are having, really good weather, actually. My whole thing is also about balance, about, enjoying the things that you've always enjoyed in your life, but in a way that you stay healthy and you can keep good quality nutrition and your health.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristine. And Cheryl, let's hear from you, who you are and where you are.
I'm in Rimrock, Arizona, which is 10 minutes south of Sedona. We just moved here. I got autoimmune disease 10 years ago, fibromyalgia, did a ton of research because my doctor had no clue how to get me well. And I completely changed how I ate. I have learned to eat for my health. And I went back to school to become a health coach, which I call myself the Muse 10 years ago, so that I want people to eat from the pharmacy, Pharmacy, to heal their body and to give them all the nutrition that their brains, their bodies, their life needs to function.
Oh, I love that. I'm so excited. Thank you all for being here today. As we move through the show, we're going to, of course, be hearing from our audience. And I want to see what are those of you who are with us live right now, what are you most interested in knowing or learning about nutrition, healthy food? What questions do you have? Let us know in the chat because we absolutely want to hear your thoughts and questions as we go. So let's begin. Let's start with, I love that, Cheryl, thank you for adding that, there can be a health condition that contributes to reasons why someone would choose to eat more nutritious food. I already mentioned, of course, releasing weight as well. What are some other reasons? Are there any other reasons that come to mind for any of you as we think about why someone might choose to eat healthier?
Some of the things is
your body
emotions.
needs real nutrition from real food in order to operate.
Simply to function, right? We don't necessarily need a health condition in order to eat healthier, right? Just to simply function. Absolutely.
Everybody's body needs it down to the motor of the cells.
Yeah. And
So,
Dee, I think add something.
Yeah, normally emotions. There are a lot of times that your emotions drive what you eat. And it's always like there's so many things that definitely drive nutrition. Well, not nutrition, drive our eating habits, right? And it could be from an emotional drive, trauma, lifestyle, meaning the way how we grew up, and that's the best thing that we know.
Yeah.
So there are multiple things that actually really, really tell us how to eat today without knowing anything else.
Yeah, that's a great point. Dee, go ahead, Kristine.
No, I was going to say, I think that's really true because especially with the lifestyle that most of us have, we're so busy. A lot of us are juggling family and career and just trying to have, some fun. And so we want to have the best nutrition we can so that we can enjoy all of these things. We don't have the sitting down for 3 meals a day anymore. And a lot of us don't have access to farm fresh food. So figuring out a way to be able to have the best quality of your health with where we're at today.
Yeah, I'd love to dive in on that. Can I dive in on that? This is just so great. So many great points so far. And ultimately, we all want to feel better. We want to feel good in our bodies, right? And a lot of times when people hear the word nutrition, they're so confused and it sounds like a harsh prison-like word, like, oh my gosh, it's January, here we go. A lot of people are feeling like what Dee had said, things get very emotional at the holidays. We're having a good time and, we can feel a little heavy in our bodies beginning in January. We ultimately want to feel better. And we think that nutrition can be some harsh, punishing way to simply start feeling better. And it's really not the case. It really doesn't have to be that way.
And I want to actually add to that because one of the things that I keep hearing is that when we talk, and I'm pretty sure we all can relate to that, when we talk about eating better, it seems like it's a sacrifice. And what people do not understand is that you're sacrificing feeling good by making the choices that you're making today because it's the best thing that you know. I mean, there's no guilt or shame. However, it seems like it's a sacrifice. We are sacrificing feeling the best in your life ever, but it's the comfort zone. It's what we're used to. I'm even getting goosebumps.
I know. So we're going to give that one of these. a total mic drop, right? I think so much of it comes down to that feeling good. We kind of have this twisted thinking that, oh no, I have to sacrifice everything that tastes good, right? All the emotions we might have associated with certain comfort foods. And yet, if we were to shift some of our thinking about it, we actually could have maybe even better experiences with healthier food. And I just got to say, no shame to anybody, right? Like, this has been a lived journey for me too, having to switch how I think about food and eat healthier and that kind of thing. But I'm going to add an answer. And this kind of goes along with what some of you already said, but mental and emotional well-being. Our food impacts, our ability to think clearly, and how we feel about certain things can make it easier or more challenging. I know that in times when I've been having to do a lot of reading, studying for certain things, it makes a huge difference if I eat a healthy meal before or if I eat an unhealthy meal before. My ability to concentrate is affected by what I eat. So okay, thank you for answering that question, because I think it's so easy to just simply say, oh, I'm not trying to lose weight, so therefore I don't need to think about this topic. But it's relevant for so many other areas of life. Yeah, Tracy.
I'm already taking notes on this show, and Renee said something at the beginning here. Okay, how to maximize and optimize nutrition. Okay, so people listening in, we are so tempted and lured into the latest and greatest diet, eating plan, food restriction, eat this, don't eat that, and all of that. And it's so confusing and frustrating. But there is a way to maximize and optimize on our own unique terms. This is the kind of work that I do with my clients, because there is not one cookie cutter approach for any of us. And it takes time, it takes patience, and it takes noticing, hey, how do I feel when I eat this? How do I feel when I eat that? It's literally going back to kindergarten and noticing how we feel in our stomachs and in our bodies when we digest something, rather than be told, oh, well, you can't eat potatoes. Oh my gosh, well, okay. It's going into this like food police mentality, which I can't have that. I can only have this. Why? Because this plan says so. And then we check out of our own intuition. Ooh. So it's really important and it's hard, especially when we've been on these restrictive plans for so long. We've been sold on a false promise. It's difficult to start to trust our own intuition with food choices, but it can be done. It needs to be done.
I agree. That's why so many people sabotage themselves before they even start, is because they see this plan that's been advertised. Oh, it's supposed to be the best. And it's like, it's the one I'm supposed to be on. But they stop listening to their bodies, and they stop being aware of how, as Tracy said, how their bodies feel and what they can do to optimize that.
Yes, such great points. Cheryl, what were you going to say?
The elephant in the room is ultra processed food. Oh. Can you guys hear me? Because my internet's going in and out. You don't want to be eating ultra processed food, because that's chemicals, that's sugar, and that's salt, and it's addictive. So if you're having a hard time not eating real food, it's because all of those chemicals are turning off your hunger hormones. They're interrupting all your hormones, and you're not getting what you want. You've got to break that connection to the sugar and the chemicals, and then you get your taste buds back. All your happy hormones turn on. There's a whole world of wonderful things start to happen when you start eating the rainbow from the pharmacy. But you got to get rid of all that ultra processed chemical food first, because it doesn't give your body anything to operate on. And it causes depression.
And Cheryl, it doesn't happen overnight either, right? This is not something you discovered overnight.
No, it takes time. It takes time to break the addiction, like any addiction.
Yes.
Okay, so I can't believe we're already 15 minutes into the show, and we have so many more things to share already. I'm going to go ahead and I want to jump to a video clip from Cheryl, and we're going to further the conversation after that. So here we go.
Hello, this is Cheryl. I'm Health Muse with a pre-show tip. Today, I want to talk about broccoli. If you're going to be making broccoli and it's so good for you, you cut it up 40 minutes before you're going to put it on heat so that all its chemicals can mix together and you get the biggest bang for your buck of nutrition from that food. There's all kinds of little things that you can do to make sure you're getting the maximum benefit from the food, and food quality matters. So we're going to be talking about more of this on the show.
All right. Thank you for that, Cheryl. So let's talk about some specific foods here. Cheryl, you talked about broccoli. Elaborate on what you just shared in that video. Cheryl, can you hear me? Cheryl, can you?
Broccoli has tremendous health-giving benefits for most people. Some people have a, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Some people have a problem with broccoli because they have a thyroid issue. So it's better that they don't eat it raw, they eat it cooked. But broccoli is from a family of cruciferous vegetables that adds all kinds of benefits and phytonutrients to the body. And by holding off 40 minutes before you cook, they all get to mix together and you get the maximum benefit from them. So that's exciting.
Nice. Nice. Thank you for that. What other foods do our panelists want to highlight and share with our audience? Maybe there's vitamins or nutrients that they don't know, most people don't know certain foods have, or what would you like to, what tips on certain foods can you share?
Actually, I have one more I'd like to add. Since potatoes came up, I've learned that if you cook potatoes the day before, put them in the refrigerator overnight, and then you heat them up the next day, it lowers the glycemic sugar load of that carbohydrate so that it's a low glycemic food. And then you can heat it up and eat it in salads, eat it as a baked potato, whatever you want, but it lowers the sugar load of the potato. But you only want to eat potatoes organic because they're sprayed with all kinds of nasty pesticides and herbicides.
Wow, that is such a great tip. Thank you for sharing that, Cheryl. Tracy, how about you? I know you had something you wanted to add.
Yeah. So one thing I've learned over the years, I used to be this like diet queen where, tell me what to eat and I'll eat it. Okay, have salads. Well, it's January. I'm freezing. I'm sitting with socks on. I got a blanket on my lap, everything. I don't want salads in the winter. My soul wants warm, baked vegetables, roasted vegetables. My number one is roasted sweet potatoes with olive oil. It just warms my soul. It's very satisfying. And I feel truly nourished. And I'm also listening to, if I don't want salad because it's cold in the winter, I'm tuning in to what my body and my spirit really wants. And I think that's really important because a lot of times when we think nutrition, okay, tell me what to eat. Even if you don't really like it, some people can think, oh gosh, I got to choke down celery. And, we don't really have to do that. And again, it's all so unique and so different, but it's really important to consider, hey, it's winter. Is your body craving warm whole foods? It's summer, it's hot. You're going to be craving more cool whole foods. And I think those conversations are worthy of having.
That's a great topic. And I was scrolling, looking for a question. I know we had a question about a certain food here and I am not seeing it. So hopefully I'll come across it again. But I did see one question come in about detoxing. And so I'd love for our panelists to speak to that. So Carolyn is asking, I would like to know what is the best detox to start with? I've heard different thoughts on detoxing. What are yours?
I would like
I want people to eat real food, and that will detox their liver naturally. Liver is the clearinghouse for all the toxins of the body. If you eat real food, some of it live, some of it cooked, and certainly you're right that everyone should be eating seasonally. But just by eating real food, if you're getting all the colors, you're naturally detoxing your body.
And I want to add something as well, because one of the things that I have learned over the years being in tune with my body and also with the environment, which is pretty much how Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, base their teachings and practices, is that being in tune with our environment. So I will speak, for example, where I am. I'm in Canada, so I have an obvious 4 seasons in the year that we can literally see. So according to that, so what I learned over the years, because I have gone through the whole, if you call extremist, I am the leader of that. Let's do this. I go and I do it and I'm like extreme and I'm like, yeah. And I'm, so focused about making it happen. So I've done it all. And after being extreme in all the extremes, what I learned, and I will give you, I'll share a story with you. So what ended up happening is I end up going with a whole vegetarian, and then I'm like, I'm gonna be vegan and all that stuff, and I'm choosing quality food. So I went on the whole extreme of quality, the being vegetarian or vegan and all that kind of stuff. And what it turns out is that down the like 2 years down the road, um, it was winter, and I remember this very, very freezing day, like -30, that it's inhumane, honestly. And I come home and I was still with my winter coat and my gloves on for 30 more minutes inside the house. And I was like, I have, and by the way, I'm not from Venezuela, from Canada. I grew up in Venezuela, so this is not my natural environment either. So, but I'm like, after 20 years, I think I should have been adapting to this weather. So what's wrong with me? I'm going on the opposite direction. And that's when actually learning about traditional Chinese medicine is when I started understanding how important it is eating according to the season. And then I didn't feel it after 2 years down the road. But what I also experienced is that because my tropical body, it actually lived very well as a vegetarian. It does very, very well. Like it really takes it like a source of, energy and feeling light and all that stuff. But because I do not live in Venezuela as good as my body does as being vegetarian, then I was not tuning in with my environment. And that's when I found that I was feeling cold, like literally I was freezing all through my bones. I was like, what? And I have to start changing my eating.
Yeah.
Where I have to learn that you detox in spring, not in winter. Winter is a time to be warm, to be cozy. The days are shorter in this part of the world, right? So it is about being managing an energy because the daylight is shorter, right?
Yeah. And that's a great question, Dee. And I know one of our audience members, in fact, I think, here we go, it was Tamara. Tamara had a great question. She was talking about what's the best way to find food in the middle of winter. I don't know, any of you have thoughts about that, about finding, the best winter foods that, I don't know, because we're talking about seasonal foods. Anything come to mind?
Well, going to the farmer's
depends upon
market,
where you
I
are, what's
think.
available.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, going to the farmer's market because they're going to have what they're growing right now. So that's what's going to be available at that time. And again, you usually get a very high quality, good quality food because it's from the farm straight to you. It's not, going through having to be picked green and being shipped and stored at the stores and that. So I think farmers markets are great.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, I live in an area where the farmers markets are not great, but I do rely in the winter a lot on frozen vegetables, and I love to make soup. We eat soup all the time in the winter, and frozen vegetables are amazing to make for making homemade vegetable soup and making it your own, using the vegetables that you like for those cold winters.
Yeah, and I want to go back to the detox question because one of the things that I think it's really, really important, and I like what Cheryl said, is that we're eating, like when you eat properly, right, with quality food, your body detoxes. But I'm also finding that we're living in a very toxic environment no matter what. And it comes from EMF, from toxins that are chemicals that are put in our food. It comes from our deodorant, from all these different things. And one of the things that I think a lot of us underestimate, it is that, yes, we can do detoxes, but if I detoxing, like lymph nodes, they're not really opening, you're actually wasting your time of detoxing as well. So we need to know that our pathways are also opening to be able to release all that chemicals, all the things that we're intentionally trying to get rid of. And as I said earlier, it is really about understanding what is the best time according to where you are that is actually ideal for detoxing. If you're choosing to do like a liver detox, a gallbladder detox, if you want to really go in something very specific for whatever reason, because you also need to be mindful and intentional on why you're doing what you're doing. It's not because everybody else is doing it. And but see, what is that time of the year, according to where you are, that is really, you're tuning in not only with that detoxing process, but also with environment and working together with that. And that's something that I also have learned over the years. It's how to tune in. We talk about tuning in with your body, but also how we can tune in with our environment and what's ideal to start working with our environment as well.
Yeah, Dee brings up a really good point with detoxing. And I really get adamant with my clients about when they want to detox is if you truly want to detox properly, seek someone, a healthcare professional to help you with it, because there's so many factors that you have to go through. You have to look at your environment, because if you detox, but you still have a toxic environment, you're not doing any good. You have to look at your health, your current state of health. So many people, they start a detox and they feel even worse because their body already is depleted and can't handle the detox. So there's a whole slew of steps you need to go through to do a true detox. And I really feel that if you want to do one properly, to do one with a healthcare professional. Don't just take one off the shelf and go, oh, I'm going to try this, because there's so many factors that are involved.
Kristine,
Wow.
I completely agree. And the other thing too is when weight loss is the primary goal, that can get really, really tricky because a detox is a detox. And I've worked with so many clients where they do a detox. And after then it's like, well, you know, what do I do now? Like a detox is not a lifestyle. So along the lines of what Cheryl's talking about, like slowly and very methodically starting to give yourself a chance to eat more whole foods, make friends with whole foods, and notice how you feel. It really is a gentle process. A detox can be harsh and it's tricky once that detox is over with. I wanted to just throw that out there. We got to be careful with weight loss and detox, because it can really be, it can be a frustrating experience if weight loss is the number one driving goal.
Yeah.
Cheryl,
What did you want to add there?
And I'd like to make a comment about toxins. Toxins is its own category. You have to systematically figure out where the toxins are in your environment and eliminate them. You have to get them out of your environment so they stop invading your body. You're getting them through your air, you're getting them through your food if you're not buying organic, or at least buying the least sprayed organic produce. They are in your water, they are in your cosmetics, they're in your cleaning supplies. There is one giant database in the sky where I did all of my research, and I eliminated literally dozens and dozens of chemicals and products, and that's EWG.org, the Environmental Working Group. You start looking up the ingredients on the products you're using and then finding lower toxin products to replace them with, because food isn't going to just detox all those things that are you're constantly being barraged with. You've got to eliminate them from your environment if you want to be completely healthy.
Awesome. You guys are adding just so many different points, and same with our audience. There's so much here today. We're going to take a quick moment and hear from Kristine, and then we're going to come right back to this conversation. So let's take a quick moment to watch.
Hi, I'm Kristine Alexandria Solomon, and I'm really excited to be here with you today. I'd like to share a secret with you about my favorite foods and what I do to keep my own health in balance. So you're probably thinking, she's a nutritionist. She likes fruits and vegetables. And I do. I love apples, salads, salmon. But my real favorite foods are Rocky Road ice cream and enchiladas with lots of cheese. Do you have a favorite sweet or carb? I'm sure you do. So you're probably wondering, how do I keep the foods that I love and grew up with in a healthy eating plan? And how do I keep my own health in balance? Keep listening to this podcast and you'll hear the secret.
Such a great point, Kristine, especially as we're talking about detoxing. And then, what do we do? Tracy was mentioning that lifestyle, right? A detox is not a lifestyle. How do we still continue to eat foods that we love, but be healthier about it? I'd love for you to elaborate on that.
Right. So the most important thing for me is to make sure that the foundation of your health is working properly. So your digestive system, your immune system, that you're doing things, your stress level, that all of these things are in balance. Because the body is an amazing organ. And once those things are in balance, it can detoxify if you're not overloading it. It can digest different types of food if you're not bombarding it. So it goes back to the balance, and it goes back to your emotional state, your attitude about things. Being Hispanic, I grew up on Mexican food, so we did a lot of beans and tortillas and cheese and, that. But I also learned that I had to make sure that my digestive system was working well, and that I didn't have this whole big thing of pasta or enchiladas, that I had a salad with it, that I had plenty of protein with it. So learning the balance and learning what works for me, and knowing that, okay, I'm okay with this much, but not that much.
Right.
And I'm okay with this much as long as I do this also.
So I love what you just said a moment ago about learning what works for me. And I'd love for each of you to speak about that, to speak to that. So how can a person, it might sound like an easy question, but I think it could actually be something very confusing for an individual, right? How do I find what works best for me? How can we simplify that question? What's the answer, the simple answer?
I have a conversation every morning in the mirror when I get up. I tell myself I love myself, and then I ask myself, how do I feel? Because I feel fantastic, and I am not willing to give it up. So if my body complains, I have to get quiet and let my body's very smart. I was surprised when I got sick. If I let my body answer, I'm like a little computer going through my brain. What did I do yesterday that my body is talking to me in symptoms today? And I correct it immediately. You have to tune in with your body. And the way to do that is to get quiet and then listen to the symptoms, because that's the language that your body speaks.
Okay, we're giving it one of these.
I'm personally loving this. I am loving this. And to everybody's point, I grew up in an Italian family, and like pasta and meatballs and like bread. I mean, come on. I'm not willing to give that up in my life. It's just not right. There are times when I have spaghetti and meatballs, and because of things like what Cheryl and Kristine are talking about, and Dee as well, learning to tune in, everybody listening, it's like a new language, learning to tune in with curiosity and patience. I know that if I eat an entire plate of spaghetti, I'm not going to feel so good. So I've learned to think, when I have a smaller portion of spaghetti and eat it slowly, guess what? That works for me, and I feel fine the next day. I don't eat it every week. But we are all so different. And it's really, really important to remember that, when we fight with nutrition, we actually check out and we become angry. And then that pushes us further away from being able to connect with how food is making us feel on an individual basis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I would like to share something, because in my experience, I have to learn. So I grew up in Venezuela. I moved to the US in 2000, and then I moved to Canada in 2001. And when I tried to eat the same way I was eating back home in North America, my body was not happy. Wow. And I know now what were the aspects that were influencing my body not being happy, aside from stress and all those different elements of being an immigrant, you name it, all this crazy stuff that comes with that change. And but what I realized, for example, in Calgary, we are higher, and I'm used to be at sea level. Slow down your metabolism. We digest things differently. Right? Those are elements that we don't consider. In my case, I did not have a clue of any of that stuff. And I cannot eat the same way. I cannot eat arepas every day as I used to do back home, right? I don't know if you know what arepas are, but just go and search for it. And so there's so many things that I have to change, and it's definitely going back to what our body is telling us. And I think it was Kristine, I believe, that says earlier about sabotage. And I think that's kind of what, being able to understand when we're really sabotaging our own process and our own body communicating with ours and saying, this is not right, or there's something that is off. And when we have the tendency to ignore all those messages, I think that's when guilt and shame takes place. It's sneaking. It's just because we don't really fully aware that the guilt and shame is coming from ignoring ourselves, but it sneaks. And then you're like, you're like, whoa, what's the heck is happening? Why do I feel the way? I feel guilty. I feel shame because I know this is not good for me. But I think ultimately, with all the things that are happening in the world, all the information that we have access to, it is understanding that diet is not the way. It's nutrition, it's nurturing your body in a way that your body really knows how to understand and interpret all these food items that we're putting in our body, and it really knows what to do. And we're getting there.
Yeah, Dee, I love that you use the word nurture, because we were talking earlier about this, the word nutrition can just almost sound like a word we want to steer away from. But if we kind of do a alliteration or something, nurturing nutrition, I think emotional eating is a very common thing. We're talking about tuning in, asking yourself, how do I feel today? And if we can start to shift how we think about it in terms of, well, eating more nurturing nutrition, I feel like that could start to make some of those connections between, okay, I'm going to choose to nurture myself through the foods that I nourish myself with in nutrition. Yeah, Tracy.
To your point, Kim, thank you. Like nourishment, we're talking food here, right, today on the show. But there are other ways that we nourish and nurture, including having experiences in our life, doing a friend's inventory. And that sounds kind of scary, but examining other holistic buckets in our life, like what needs attention, because sometimes we can really focus so much on the food, especially if we're, my clientele is about weight loss and, no dieting and all that kind of thing. But there are other elements that make us feel nourished and nurtured in our lives that are worthy. I have a little dog sitting on my lap right now, little rescue dog, and my heart is just warm and she's so snuggly. She's safe with me. That literally makes me feel nourished. So those are other conversations I have too.
Well, and I love that. Let's go ahead and share Tracy's video here.
Hi friends, Tracy Desjardins here, holistic health coach for women, filming here in beautiful Jackson Hole, Wyoming. As the snow is falling on my head right now, I'm here to chat with you a little bit about nutrition in a unique way, and I don't mean about food. I'm on a snowmobiling vacation that has yanked me completely out of my comfort zone because I reside in the mild state of Maryland. And I'm here to say that this vacation for me, snowmobiling, has yanked me out of my comfort zone, and that represents true nutrition to my soul. Doing something that is completely out of the norm, that makes me feel uncomfortable, has been literal nutrition for my soul. So I encourage you to think of nutrition not just as related to the food that you're eating, but also the experiences that you're having that enrich your life and give you that feeling in your soul like you're full of joy. So to me, this week has been not necessarily about the food, but about the experiences that I have had.
Yeah, great point, Tracy. And thank you for filming that with all the snow behind you. I personally loved just seeing that. So that was beautiful.
It was cold. It was really cold. It was -0. -0.
You're brave.
Well, your whole point about viewing nutrition in another way goes back to what we were talking about with environment, being aware of what's in your environment, and how are you setting yourself up for success with your nutrition? And to me, it's all linked, all the emotions. How am I feeling about this? And not just about food. So would you like to elaborate in any way on that? You already kind of did it
Yeah.
before, but yeah.
I would love to. I have to tell you, I'm almost 54 years old, and I spent the first 4 decades of my life literally battling with food and body. I was overweight as a child. Everything was about the food. I got to eat right. I got to lose weight. And it became a war. And when I finally, it's a long story, I wrote this book called The Diet-Free Diva, where I tell my story. But when I finally discovered what I was missing, I realized how much power I was giving to my obsession with how to eat nutritiously, how to eat right, that it created this black and white aspect, all or nothing. And I really, really battled that. I was either doing well, eating very healthy, or not. And I worked very hard to find that middle ground. That's exactly the work that I help women find, is that freedom and peace, including the Rocky Red ice cream, including going snowmobiling and being scared to death on a mountain, including having a dog, little things that enrich my life as a whole. I realized I didn't have any mental space for that because I was fighting with the food so much. So when I learned about like how to really nurture myself and nourish myself in my life, it felt better. It was freeing. It really was.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Kristine, and then I have a comment. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to do a short story. My father passed away from cancer when I was 19. And we had our own garden. We hiked every weekend. We had a swimming pool. He didn't drink. He didn't smoke. So when he passed away, that started my journey, because I'm like, what happened? Well, he was a principal in the East LA City School District. And so he had a lot of stress, and being the Hispanic macho man, never spoke about it. And so I learned the connection between life, stress, our environment, and nutrition, because I had to think about what's missing in my life. What was out of balance for him? And how can I make sure that my body and my health stays in balance? And so I love what you were saying, Tracy, about going out and challenging yourself and finding things that speak to your heart. And because it is tied also to nutrition. It's all part of the same picture.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Kristine. So I did not know that about you. I've known Kristine for many years, did not know that about her. Thank you for sharing that. That could be a whole separate show in itself.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Talking about lifestyle and stress, right? You might be thinking you're doing everything right, and yet something's still out of balance. Gosh, okay, that one was big for me. So I was gonna say, I want to speak to one of our audience made a comment. And again, we've had so many awesome comments. Thank you to all of you out there sharing all your thoughts. But someone made a comment about, I'm trying something about, I'm finding it hard to switch away from this one thing that, maybe isn't so healthy for me. And so what tips might you have for someone who's trying to, get in the habit of not being, I'll use the word addicted. I don't know if that's appropriate for the audience comment, but if you find that you're, addicted to a certain food that's not so healthy and you're trying to shift away, but it's hard, what tips or advice do you have for someone going through that?
So one of the things that I find that everybody, when we want to eliminate something from our food, like it's like we have this thing in our mind that we have to eliminate it. Like it's just getting out, like you're cutting your hair and then you got a piece of your hair out of your life, just that easy. Or you cut your nails and it's out of your, and what I find is that when it's something that is really, really that is strong in your habit or an addiction or an obsession, whatever that is, I find that it's easier to start replacing that with something good. Instead of trying to eliminate something from the root, which there is an emotional attachment to that. So we really need to heal the emotion, and it's really hard. So what is that one thing that that will be the question. What is the one thing that that is not good for you that you want to eliminate? But what can you add to replace that? So that is the one thing that I know it helped me.
Hey, Dee,
I love that, Dee.
Can I answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it.
No, go Tracy.
Dee, I love that. Can I give an example?
Please.
Okay. So for decades and decades, I had this issue with donuts, all of them. I mean, it was a real thing. I'm eating real healthy, but then there's these donuts. They called my name on a regular basis. In fact, I think Helene, somebody was mentioning donuts in the chat. It was fantastic.
Yes, yes.
So what I did is I started to connect the dots with I was getting sick. I really was. I felt addicted to donuts, and the feeling that I'd been washing over the sugar, the fat, everything. It really was a problem. And very emotionally driven. I used to get donuts with my family growing up, all that stuff. What else can bring me the feeling that the donuts, what is the payoff for these donuts? It was, I needed a break. I needed to feel calm. The sugar was that instant dopamine rush. Well, it took me a while, okay? But thinking and being curious, what else besides these disgusting donuts that tasted good for all of like 5 seconds? What else can bring me the feeling that I want, which was to calm down? I discovered, Dee, that I needed to give myself a time out to do nothing in the afternoon. Instead of eat the donuts, guess what? I started to lay on my couch or pull over in a parking lot, put the seat back, close my eyes for 5 minutes. And I started practicing that.
Wow.
I love
things
it.
like that.
That is huge, because it's a good example of what we're trying to do. It's basically compensating, right?
Right.
We're trying to compensate something, which definitely, because as we know how addicted sugar is and all those sort of things, of course, that plays a role as well. However, we're still trying to compensate something. And you remind me of what coffee means to me. People have been trying to trash coffee. I'm like, don't trash coffee. Like, you're not going to win that battle with me.
I know. I'm going to give that a try too.
Because the thing is, coffee is not, it's known that it's a massive antioxidant. The problem is if you're having 10 coffees a day, I mean, seriously, that falls into addiction again, or obsession, or whatever that is, right? But for example, for me, I came into terms with coffee, because coffee, what it represents is that connection of having the coffee with my grandma being back home, right? It's coffee. It's what it brought us all together when we were having coffee and chatting. Since I was a child, I have been drinking coffee my whole life, right? And I'm like, but that's it. Is that emotional connection? And am I going to quit coffee? Honestly, I did it for a while, because again, I replaced some things in my life that allow me not to have that desire for coffee anymore. And then I'm like, what am I doing? I want my coffee. I want to keep that connection with my ancestor, my grandma, right? And but then it's, what is the choice? Then I go with, like, I'm gonna upgrade my coffee. So, and because we're in Canada, I'm honestly not having that Tim Horton coffee, which is the worst coffee you could ever have, right? So I'm basically making the conscious decision of buying a good quality coffee, making it at home, and creating. And when I drink my coffee, I like to drink my coffee at peace for the same reason. Because I'm like, I'm connecting with that emotion. And
Thank you for that example. All of you, you've all shared different examples of how people can implement these tips and make them work for their current lifestyle, right? It's not about all of a sudden shifting and choosing to be perfect in some way. It's how can we be more nutritious and nurturing to ourselves, and what works for us individually. I love it. We're nearing the end of the show. We're not there yet, but I have a couple more video clips I want to share with you, and then we're going to come back as we begin to wrap up the conversation. So here we go.
My body has a sensitivity to food. I just found out that I had autoimmune disease, and so I had to change my diet in order to bring my body back to healthiness. I wasn't really looking to lose weight, but because I changed my food habits and got rid of like the junk food that I used to eat and, brought in more healthier food, I actually lost 28 pounds just by moderation from April 2023 up until now. And I'm pretty pleased with what's going on with my body. I'm always cooking because that's what brings me joy, is to enjoy a more healthier, stable, healthy lifestyle now. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day, everybody.
And I want to give that a round of applause. Congratulations to Carolyn. That was our success story right there, making those shifts and sticking with it and get to see those results. That was beautiful. As we near the end of today's conversation, is there something that you know what, actually, here's what I want to do. I want to highlight, we had a really fabulous audience comment. Let's talk about inflammation briefly. So Lori, thank you for this comment. Lori was saying, I have been eating garlic cloves that's been soaking in honey for 2 months, one at night, and a few herb cloves that help work along with the garlic. And it's been healing my inflammation in my body. And I wanted to speak to that because so much of conditions that can be developed originate from inflammation in the body. And what tips do you all have about reducing inflammation? Anything you'd like to share? Speak to that.
Inflammation starts in the gut. Garlic is a prebiotic, so it feeds all your good gut bacteria. So by eating the garlic, she's healing and developing very healthy gut bacteria, which is helping to heal her body because inflammation starts there.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. Kristine, how about you? Do you have any thoughts about inflammation?
Well, I agree with Cheryl that inflammation does start in the gut. And why does it start in the gut? It's usually because of foods maybe that you're eating, the fact that you have a dysbiosis, which is an imbalance of the good probiotics and other bacteria. So there's a lot of things that could happen there. And so looking there first, I think is the best thing to do if you're dealing with inflammation is to look at your gut. And again, we go back to the foundation of our health.
Yeah. What are your final thoughts? I don't.
What I would like to add is that a lot of the things that I'm finding out there when it comes to fitness or nutrition or intermittent fasting or diets and all those sort of things, they are not always aligned with the hormonal cycles for women. And this is something that we have not been tuned with. We don't fully understand our cycles, for example, and we don't fully comprehend what is really happening, and that could be creating inflammation as well. And knowing that a lot of the studies done out there are mostly done in men, you should know that is not necessarily, a lot of the suggestions out there are not necessarily designed for us, our females' bodies. And that's something to consider. And it goes in many ways. And honestly, I saw an interview not too long ago that we're talking about that in the nutritional world, they actually do more testing in males because they're easier to deal with because they don't have all the hormonal cycles and complexities that we have. So imagine that, okay? So knowing that, also start understanding and comprehending that a female body also works differently than a male body. And a lot of those, like advertisement or different suggestions that are out there are a lot of those things are designed for men. So start tuning in. It goes back to tuning into your body.
Thank you for that, Dee. Tracy, what are your final thoughts?
Honestly, in terms of nutrition, keeping it super simple for anybody out there that's feeling overwhelmed. To a lot of the speakers to your points that you've shared today, what unprocessed, whole natural foods do you like? Can you start eating some of those and start to notice how you feel? Taking baby steps, one thing at a time. You know what the ultra processed foods are. You know what they are. We're intelligent people. Less of those. Bring in more whole, unprocessed natural foods and start to notice how you feel. Now we get the snowball rolling. That's keeping it super simple.
Nice. Thank you for that. And Kristine, what are your final thoughts?
I'm going to tag off of her that in that start simple. Start with one thing, because a lot of us go, I'm going to, change my eating habits for the whole day. Maybe start with breakfast. Maybe start with, well, I eat a lot of bread. Maybe I'll cut it down to one piece a day or whatever it is. But start with just one thing, because you want to have a win. You want to be successful. So once you get that one thing going, drinking more water, whatever it is, then you can go on to the next thing. And it breaks it down.
I love that. Thank you. And Cheryl, what are your final thoughts?
What I would like everybody to do is to cook their own food so that you control what you're putting into your body. If you're using real food and you're cooking, then you're controlling what you're putting in. And that's when you're going to start to have the wins of feeling great.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you to all of today's panelists and to everyone. Yes, thank you for so much. We absolutely could have carried this conversation on for another 7+ hours. And thank you to our audience today. You guys added so much value and questions and thoughts in the chat that we really appreciate that. I want to bring it back to, I love the wins comment. At the end of your day, reflect back and go, what did I succeed on? What did, I was able to make that one change, and celebrate yourself for that, because that is one step in that right direction and something you can continue to build on. If you would like to connect with any of our panelists from today, be sure to let us know down in the chat. We'll be happy to give you the links or do a quick little online search and you can find them that way. Have an amazing day, everybody. You were amazing. And remember to tune in with how you are feeling. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you all again soon.
I want to say thank you for joining us today and welcome you back next Sunday as we once again are joined by a panel of subject matter experts that will explore and focus in on our fabulous lives. Until next Sunday.